There are two ways that the final boss in Tales of Maj'Eyal can go. Either your character is so powerful that you just annihilate Elandar and then have plenty of time to team up against Roguelike, or something goes wrong. You can't kill Elandar, Eren dies super quickly, and then the fight turns into a desperate struggle to try and stabilize. And what I'm about to show you is that second type of a fight. I originally recorded it for the Corruptor overview that will be coming out in a few days, but it got so long that I feel like it doesn't fit into that video anymore, so I'm uploading it separately. Unfortunately, this does mean that I sort of expect you to know what Corruptor does, so I apologize if it's sometimes not exactly clear what I'm doing, but nonetheless, I think this is an interesting, fun example of the final boss. So at the beginning, I jump to the side with the Doom Elf teleport to get my all resistances all to 70%, because it has built-in out of phase. Then I Rune of Dissipation Elandar, trying to hit his most powerful sustains. Unfortunately, I miss Essence of Speed, which gives him a lot of speed. And then when I follow it up with Corrupted Negation, and it does not remove a single effect or a single sustain, I realize that my spell power is not high enough because he has 86 spell save. Now my plan was to get enough spell power. I have a decent amount of spell power on crit, which puts me to like 95 spell power, I think. So what I wanted to do is to first crit them twice before I try to apply any debuffs or anything that checks spell saves. But then I forgot about it and I didn't do it. So that was the first kind of unfortunate part. But I was still confident, I felt really powerful, I didn't really struggle for a long time on my Corruptor, so now that I've seen the spell save, I proceeded to stack up my spell power through a few more crits. Trying to apply one of my diseases maybe to Elandar, since that's the target that I want to kill first. I managed to land the Corrosive Worm with my now increased spell power, and then he knocks me back all the way to the edge of the arena. And it takes me 2-3 turns to run all the way back. But at this point, you know, Elandar has Corrosive Worm on him, he has Epidemic on him, I have enough spell power to apply my debuffs. Here I went into my talents to check if Virulent Disease, the passive that applies new diseases, is on cooldown or not, and since it wasn't, I apply another disease, then I prolong all the diseases and blow them up. This doesn't kill Elandar, but it pretty much means that he is going to die once the Corrosive Worm explodes. Which will take 8 turns, but still, he should be pretty much dead. So I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident. I cast my Blood Spray on Elandar, and Erin dies. She just dies, which caught me by surprise because, I don't know, it's like maybe 8 turns, 10 turns into the boss fight, and it felt like she just blew up extremely fast. And suddenly, the whole situation changes, because Elandar still needs 7 turns to die. He's also cast a Displacement Shield on me, which is annoying because I only have 2 charges on my Bone Shield left. I also have Epidemic and a Worm debuff on me, doing damage to me, potentially destroying my Bone Shield. So I start thinking of ways to buy time. My first idea is to Fearscape Elandar, but unfortunately he is 1 space outside of the range, and I've already used all of my mobility, and I didn't really feel like just spending my turn to move 1 tile, because really spending 8 turns with him in Fearscape is not even that great. So I Shatter Afflictions to remove one of the debuffs, which removes the worm, but that makes him spawn still, and he spawns in the worst possible spot, blocking all my projectiles towards Elandar. Fun fact about these worms, they have a 100% blight immunity, so like, I basically can't kill them without focusing a lot of my resources on them. And they also, for some reason, have like a billion accuracy, so I'm not going to dodge any of their attacks. And they deal enough damage that they can bite through my bone shield. So it's just all around a tragedy. So I check the corrosive worm on Elandar, and it currently would deal 8,340 damage, which doesn't exactly kill him, but if I hit him 1, 2, 3 more times, then it will just straight up kill him. So then I decide to try and fearscape one of the worms, just so I can get my cooldowns back. Unfortunately, you cannot fearscape summons. At least, Dark God is generous, and this does not skip your turn. It simply fizzles, but gives you back your action. So what I decide to do is to domination hex the worm next to me, so that he doesn't bite me, and hopefully moves out of the way. And Elandar is feeling generous and uses the Stonewall talent on me, which cuts me off from Argoniel, so that she can't damage me. Unfortunately, I still stay exposed to his attacks, because the worm blocks one of the tiles of the wall, but I thought that's almost a positive, because I can deal the last bits of damage to him. Unfortunately, I then also get silenced, which I think is the worms. I don't think Elandar can silence, but the worms, on hit, the worms can silence you, and you see here, the worm has 180 accuracy. What? Why does it have 180 accuracy? Nobody knows, but it does. And, of course, it rolls silence. So things are pretty bad. They could be worse, but now I can't really act for 2 turns, unless I use my Relentless Pursuit, which is the talent you get in the late game from talking to Erin in the Sun Paladin town. Hopefully you do that, because it's fairly easy to miss. And what it does is that it reduces all your debuffs by a lot. Usually it just basically removes all of them. But it's a massive cooldown, so you're only really ever going to use it once in a fight. And this is really the point where I started to get a little stressed out, because I just was not feeling right. Especially for how confident I was before the start of the game. So I bone grab the worm to teleport it away from me, so it can't silence me again. And imagine if he didn't stonewall me, and Argoniel was just doing damage to me this whole time. I probably would have died, or at least it would have been extremely close. Like this, I'm still hanging on, I still have my inscriptions. I decide to do some damage to Elandar here, to make sure that when the Wormrod blows up, he actually dies. After this, seeing as I have 0 bone shields, only 1000 life, all my inscriptions are on cooldown, I decide to employ the strategy of strategic retreat, but before I can even do that, Elandar face doors me to the south of the level. Thank you, Elandar, again for working with me. And this lets me use the movement infusion to try and gain some distance, recharge some of my bone shields. Now Argoniel is very quick, but I managed to still create a few tiles between her. And then I look in the bottom left, and I see that Elandar blocked some kind of 19,000 damage hit. And I realize that's the Wormrod. That's what was supposed to kill him. He just blocked all of it through Phantasma's shield. So now my stress levels are even higher, because now not even Elandar is dead. Erin has been dead for like 50 turns. I'm half HP. I have most of my talents on cooldown. How did this happen? But this is the important tip to take away. If you can cut off vision from both of the bosses, they often don't take the shortest path towards you. They kind of wander around. Like it's fairly easy sometimes to just kite them and confuse them. Which is what I do here. I try to hit Argoniel with some hexes around the corner, since I have nothing better to do. And then I track to see what they are doing. And it seems like they're just kind of standing around. So I hide in this little corner that cuts me off from most of the angles. Now, the portals, you see the enemies in the top left are kind of coming in. That's fine. It's really not that big of a deal. And as you'll see, it actually pays, it actually comes in handy. So here, basically the point is to get as far away from Argoniel as possible. Elandar, since he is slow, he has some kind of AI that he constantly tries to run away. So he's not really that dangerous right now, and he's not going to heal that much. So Argoniel is the big problem now. So I teleport towards the demons, and then I fearscape one of them. And what's great is because they are demons, they don't even take damage in fearscape. So here what I do is I wait for 20 turns all the way until my Vim goes down, because I can get it all back with a single drain. So I just wait here in the corner of the level and recharge all my cooldowns. Only that's not what I actually do, because for whatever reason I just panicked and I thought that I'm just going to lose too much Vim or whatever, and I need to drain him, and I thought that I'm not going to kill him with just the drain for whatever reason. Look, it was late, alright? It was late in the night and I just wanted to push through and win the game. That's my excuse. Nonetheless, I one-shot the mob after like 3 or 4 turns, so while it does help a little bit to get some of my cooldowns back, I could have gotten way more out of it. Still, Argoniel is nowhere in sight. Things are looking good again. I run towards Elandar, he has 2000 life. Well, 5000 now because he healed, but I got my disease explosion back, and I get the burning hex applied to me by Argoniel, and look at this, okay? Her burning hex gives you 123% of your cooldowns increased when you use a talent. My hex gives like 54% increased cooldowns. That's a massive difference. So here I basically instantly lose unless I can cleanse it. So I try to cleanse it with Shatter Afflictions, which does not hit it because I was also bloodlocked. But thankfully, Rune of Dissipation comes in handy here, and it does not only strip sustains, it can also remove magical debuffs from you. So it literally saves my life here, otherwise, yeah, I would use all of my talents once, and then they would go on like 40 turns cooldown, which would be difficult to survive. But here I use it to cleanse the hex, and then I go for the kill on Elandar. My Draconic Will comes back, so I am immune to more debuffs, and I get 2 diseases on Elandar, which honestly is mostly enough. Together with Pitiless, I burst him for 5,500 damage, and he dies. So now it just becomes a 1v1 duel against Argoniel. The only slight problem is she has 90% Blight resistance and 30% Blight affinity, which means she heals for 30% of all Blight damage before it gets reduced by resistance. So right now, all my Blight damage basically heals her. The good news is, a lot of this is through sustains. I think Infestation is the one that does this. So I can get rid of this and kill her, but it's going to take some time, since I don't have any way to strip the sustains currently. So yet again, this becomes a matter of time and a matter of kiting back as long as possible. Bone Shield is working overtime here, constantly regenerating, doing great work. Here I Blood Grasp one of the trash mobs to get as much life as possible, since using my spells on Argoniel currently does not make a lot of sense. And here she isn't actually using any talents, so maybe Burning Hex is good. Maybe I'm just underestimating it. I put on Curse of Defenselessness here, and I try to put on Corrosive Worm, which lands. Unfortunately, she dodges the curse that reduces resistances, but I'm doing some damage to her, even despite the affinity. I even used the Dark Portal here to try and apply a disease, but you can see it's not really working. In the bottom left here you see I hit her with Soul Rot, and she absorbs 400, takes 400 blood damage, and then heals for 850. So it's an uphill battle. I get blinded, and I get angry a little bit because I have 85% blight resistance, but it hits me anyways, which is unfortunate, because it's a bit hard to play when you can't see anything, and I don't have a way to cleanse it. So basically I'm still stalling here for a Rune of Dissipation, which I need to strip her sustains. So this is all just kind of pretending that I'm doing damage. I'm just trying to survive. I again fire one of the blood grasps onto the dragons in the top right, which gives me a big burst of maximum HP and some healing. I try to hit her with the burning hex again, hoping that she's still roughly in the area that she was previously. And then I blindly run away to the left, trying to create some distance. For this it's very useful to play with passive movement mode. I think this is the F key by default, and it means that if you bump into an enemy, you will not damage them. You will simply not be able to move, which is insanely useful on any characters that don't intend to melee attack. I did not use this for a long time, but it's just really good. You'll find it in the options as like a toggle movement system or something like that. So I come out of the blind with Argoniel standing right next to me at 85% life. And here the real problem is I have 0 mobility. Dark Portal is on 6 turns of cooldown, Movement Infusion 5, Doom Elf Teleport on 11, and as you'll see, I really don't want her to just stand there and hit me in a single turn. She deals almost 600 damage to me. Well, she would deal 800, but one of it gets blocked by my Bone Shield. So this is bad. This is really bad. Thankfully, my inscriptions come back off cooldown, so they give me some extra HP here to work with. I try to bone grab her, but she resists the teleport. And here I'm a single turn away from movement inscription, and this is where you see a single turn on all of these inscriptions is a huge deal. So this is why I always prioritize cooldown over the actual heal or the actual shield, and especially on movement infusions, this is a massive deal. So I go to 10 range, and then I finally use the Rune of Dissipation after shooting her with a few more projectiles to stack up Corrosive Worm a little bit, but with her resistances and with her affinity, it's not going to do much. And here you see my savior, my knight in shining armor, spawn from the demon portal. This guy is one of the most annoying enemies in the game because he does a darkness effect, which makes it difficult to fight. But as you'll see, he kind of helps me out here. So I dark portal away from Argoniel, and he does this darkness effect, which makes me unable to see anything, but it also makes everyone else unable to see me, which seals the fight for me, as this gives me almost infinite time to recharge all my spells, because I can deal with the trash mobs that come from the portals basically infinitely, so that's never going to be a problem. And if I get all my cooldowns back, I will be able to kill Argoniel, and every 20 turns I can actually see Argoniel because I have track. So you see her there just running around confused. I managed to strip her sustain, that gives her affinity, so now she only has 80% blight resistance, but no affinity, and I can work with that. The darkness guy is still alive and still spreading more darkness, giving me more and more cover. So now I just begin very slowly, very incrementally doing damage to Argoniel every time I can, every time I see her. And at this point I knew that it's fine, it's in the bag, because all the mobs that spawn from the portals actually help me. They let me drain from them, they let me blood grasp from them, they let me fear escape if needed. So here you see that I knew I hit Argoniel because I hit a Bone Shield with the AoE. I try to shoot some projectiles into the darkness. It's not very successful, so basically I have to wait until my track comes off cooldown, and that's where I make my play. She has Infestation backup, but so do I have my Rune of Dissipation, so I remove it, and this is where I deal a big burst of damage. I have the Hex on me that shares damage, but I guess Bone Shield blocked all of it. Yep. So I burst her a bunch, then I lose sight again, so I have to wait. Actually, I run into her in the darkness here, which at this point, this is just good for me, because she's low enough that I can kill her before she has any chance of seriously hurting me. Then I do get a little scared and I still teleport her away, which actually gives me a little indicator where she landed with the damage number, so not sure if that's intended, but it lets me shoot her even in the dark. And the good news about this darkness is that it stays permanently. It's not a timed effect, unless you have like one of the light ones that remove this effect. It's just permanently dark and you can't see anything. But on classes like this, in situations like this, it's very beneficial to me. So yeah, speeding it up here, I get my track back, she only has 8% life, and I manage to spam a few of my projectiles and kill her, kill the bosses, win the game. Phew! Not really how you want to have your final boss go, but with some luck I managed to overcome some questionable gameplay from me. Thank you for watching.